In this week's episode, do I like the Essendon Edge? Is the Gold Coast Suns the next Adelaide Crows? Is the Brisbane Collingwood Grand Final rematch the most anticipated of ever? And what's going on in the NRL land? What's going on down at the Rabbits? Well, hey guys, welcome to another YouTube video. And welcome to another episode of the BD Footy Wrap Up. So, of course, to wrap up, obviously, or in this case, preview, obviously, just to wrap up, obviously, what happened last week in the AFL and NRL. So yeah. So, of course, the topics I want to talk about, obviously. We're going to be talking about the grand final rematch. Going to be on, which is, as I'm recording this right now, is going to be on tomorrow night between Brisbane and Collingwood at the Gabba. Do I support this Essendon Edge that has been talking about? We'll be talking about the Gold Coast Suns away record, which I can't speak English for a second. That for some reason nobody's talking about. Are the GWS Giants the new Premiership favourites, and running through the stats for that. Also in the NRL, crisis over at South Sydney, and I'll be talking a lot about that. We're talking a lot about possibly the best 19th man in the NRL. I'll talk to you about that. And is this the flash was this result last week the flash in the pan for the West Tigers, or is there sign of fantastic things to come in 2024? And maybe am I right about the West Tigers? As well, we'll be talking about injuries as well, suspensions, and plenty more. So let's get into it. So the first thing I want to talk about is obviously the Brisbane Collingwood game, which is going to be on tomorrow. Tomorrow night, as I said, as I'm recording this, which I think it is probably one of the first AFL Grand Final rematch. I think that both sides will go into winless, I think, because Collingwood, of course, coming off of losing their first three games against GWS, Sydney, and St Kilda, and then of course Brisbane coming off their bye, losing their first two games of the season against Carlton and against Fremantle. So I'm going to talk about the ramifications for both sides, in particular for Brisbane. I said this in the last episode, that I see plenty of more upside in Brisbane than is in Collingwood because of Collingwood's aging stars, and that's not a lie, it's a fact. Let's put it that way. But also with Brisbane, of course, you had Lachie Neale. What I said was true a couple of weeks ago. I said that Lachie Neale, that their inside mids, their inside mids are useless about Lachie Neale. That's the truth. That is truth and fact as well. That they do now that he's gonna be. It looks like he's gonna be back in for this match against the Pies. Do Brisbane have a bit of an edge over Collingwood? I believe so. There's, as I said, I think for me, the ramifications for Brisbane, like if you guys don't remember, about 3 years ago, back in 2021, they were in this exact same position, 0-2. Yet they somehow clawed their way to a top four finish, albeit they got knocked down in straight sets. But they somehow got a top 4 finish out of their 0-2 start. 0-2 start, and so the ramifications, I think, for both teams losing this game is going to be enormous, especially for Collingwood. They're already 0-3. They don't want to go 0-4 as reigning premiers. They don't. That is the last thing that they need, to be honest, and last thing that Craig McRae needs, because he's been under for the first time probably in his coaching career, serious pressure. Serious pressure. There's even talks that the love is gone. The love that everyone has for Collingwood fans have, not Collingwood fans, but all around the club have for Craig McRae. The rumor is it's gone. It's gone. So, is that the first sign of troubles down at the Collingwood Football Club? We don't know about that, but he's going into this game. He's going into this game he's probably going into this round with the most pressure that all other coaches have, because obviously, reigning premiers, they would want to start off their premiership defence in the best possible way. Quite the opposite, actually, and the worst. And finally, and speaking of which, I watched on Monday. Footy Classified. Watched a bit of Footy Classified. Finally, Matthew Lloyd brought up their injury list. Finally, I brought it up about a week ago, saying that their best 22 is basically out there on the field. But the only ones that are in their best 22 that are not out there are McStay and Murphy, and they're out indefinitely. So obviously, we don't, and of course, a lot of their guys are out of form at the moment. I mean, we've all talked about their veterans in Sidebot and Pendlebury, all of those. I mean, they've got the worst thing possible, and that is problems on all three facets, which is their defence, their midfield, and their forward line. I mean, of course, the midfield obviously has got problems, obviously, with their lack of skill, especially surprisingly from their veterans, and then obviously, bro, in terms of statistics, Nick Dacos had probably his worst game. He only got kept to like 15, 16 touches last Thursday night against St Kilda, which was surprising. And of course, a week before that against Sydney, Josh Dacos wasn't that good either. So it's clearly. I don't know if that could be a trend most of the year, where one Dacos brother is nowhere and that has bugger all touches, while the other gets like 30 odd touches in the same game, and then it swaps every week. I don't know if that's going to be a trend for the Dacos brothers most of the year. I don't know, but yeah. But I heard that on Monday night on Classified, they said I think Kane Corn made this, or Lloydie made the suggestion that maybe his best position is coming off halfback. Coming off halfback. That's because clearly in the mid, he's a runner. He is a runner. When he runs and he disposes of the ball in any way, he's great. But other than that, doesn't have any of the tough kind of qualities that he has as a midfielder. He's more suited to running off the back line and dishing it to the midfielders himself coming off the back line, coming off the half back line, than him being in the midfield. So yeah, and of course you got the Dacos boys being inconsistent. You got Pendlebury side bottom to Goey. They're making uncharacteristic mistakes for guys that are in the wrong side of 30, especially Pendlebury. And then the back line, of course, is underperforming. You got Darcy, you got the skipper and Darcy Moore, who is on his own in that key back position. As I said, Charlie Keane, he's not a Nathan Murphy. Let's put it that way. You got Quainer underperforming. You got Maynard underperforming. You got Howe not at his best. Yeah, I mean, yeah. And in the forward line, I'm going to keep to my word. Their forward line is relying on midgets. I'm saying it. I'm saying it's true. They're relying on midgets. They're relying on Elliott, Hill. Previously last year, previously in the previous 2 years before they got rid of him, Jack Ginnivan. It's just and their tools their tall forwards are useless. I mean, Mason Cox is not is basically a one game wonder. Ever since that game where he tore Richmond to shreds in the 2018 prelim, he just hasn't pulled it together. He's I don't know. I still don't know how he's getting a game at Collingwood, to be honest, with no influence on the game whatsoever at times. Then you got Mychek, who started the year impressively kicking 4 goals against GWS. Since then, he's basically been nothing. He's basically had duck eggs for the last couple of weeks. So yeah, and obviously relying on you can't rely on Jamie Elliott, Bobby Hill, Bo McQuarrie, those sort of guys. You can't rely on them to kick most of your goals. You just can't. They got away with it last year with their forward line, but let's just say I don't think they'll get away with it this year. I don't see them getting away with it. Let's put it that way. Let's just put it that way. And then also the only decent Darcy Cameron, he's actually a pretty decent ruckman. Actually, that's the only thing that they got down pat. The others is just doubtful. Really, it's just underperforming and terrible. I'll stick by my word about the forward line, to be honest. And I'll keep on doing it until someone points it out that they're basically relying on their small forwards to kick most of their goals. That's what I'm going to keep on doing until someone notices it. So yeah. Oh wait. They won't, because I pointed it out. So yeah. So to end this topic, back on the main question: is this the most anticipated grand final rematch ever? In terms of statistics, probably not. But in terms of statistics, really, I mean, it's probably the most. I don't think anticipated is not the right word. I think is the most, intriguing grand final rematch, because both sides are winless from their games played so far. I mean, first 3 for Collingwood, first 2 for Brisbane. Yeah, I think, as I said at the start, there's going to be massive ramifications for the losing team. And if it's Collingwood, they go 0-4. Their season is almost toast. And if they go 0-4, it's going to be even more going to be put more pressure on their veterans, and even more pressure is going to be thrown into into the blazing fire of a coach's box that is owned by Craig McRae. So yeah, that's for me on that front. So yeah. Moving on here to a topic that nobody's talked about. Nobody's been talking about this. We've all talked about when I talked about in the last episode about Adelaide's away record under Matthew Nicks. We've all talked about it, about how bad their away record is, and is that going to be their be their downfall to chase a finals position in 2024. The same could be said for the Gold Coast Suns. Obviously, last week was against the Bulldogs. It was their chance. It was their first real test away from home under Dimmer. And yes, they had a lot of their key players out, including Wicks and that. But they failed. They failed that assignment. Let's put it that way. And I won't be surprised if their interstate record comes under question. And this is their home record. This is only at Carrara, only at Carrara or Metricon or First People First Stadium, whatever it's called, whatever you want to call it. They've won 47. Their record is 47 wins, 77 losses, and 2 draws, at a winning strike rate of 30, just under a tick under 38%. The interstate record: 27 wins, 105 losses, and winning strike rate under 20.5%. Some argue probably worse than Matthew Nicks's record, interstate record, since he first took charge of the Adelaide Crows. So, is the question here: should the Gold Coast Suns' interstate record should be more into question? Yes, it should. It should be into question. Knowing that I did say about Collingwood's injury list and their best 20 and their most if not all their best 22 being out there and they're underperforming, and as it was pointed out by Matthew Lloyd, as I said on Footy Classified on Monday night. What about this? I won't be surprised if next Monday or next Wednesday, something like that, the Gold Coast Suns' away interstate record gets put under the microscope. Well, it's already been put under the microscope by yours truly, so obviously, so yeah, and I mean, as I'm fearing that, my fear is with them under Damien Hardwick. I think their plan is to definitely make the stadium of the Gold Coast their fortress. Obviously, of course, they've won their first 2 games, obviously, over there. So yeah, which has been the plan, that's worked. But as I said, the away record, if you win away from home, especially interstates, then that's going to help your credentials for a finals place. And as I said, for a first assignment against the Doggies over at Ballarat, they failed spectacularly. Even though, yes, they had the likes of Wits and that out. Let's put it that way. Which I'll get to in the injuries list in a bit. So, yeah, but I won't be surprised if that actually does come under the microscope at some stage, maybe in a week or so. But I think yeah. So yeah. So that was a very quick notice on that. The next topic I want to talk about is the two famous words that it's always talked about in the AFL: Premiership favouritism. Those are the two words. Who is currently the new Premiership favourites? Some argued pre-season it was going to be Collingwood, and look where they are now. Some thought it was Brisbane. Again, look at where they are now. But surprisingly, but not surprising to me, really, the new Premiership favourites at the moment, after 3 games, yes, they only bet one decent side, that was in Collingwood, and the other two, well, they were just there. They were the other two that finished bottom 2 in 2023, and again in 2022. So by the way, finished top 2, finished bottom 2 in the last 2 years. Let's be honest. They should be considered Premiership favourites, and team is the big sound from the west of the town. It's the sound of the mighty GWS Giants. The orange tsunami. That orange tsunami. It's the biggest it's ever been. Like the way that they are playing. I know that in the last fortnight that they've played against, of course, North Melbourne, who in the last 3 years have finished 18th, and 17th, and in the last 2 years and the West Coast Eagles, who in the last 2 years have finished 17th and 18th. But the way that they play, like I was lucky enough a few weeks ago to actually watch most of their game against North Melbourne, and I mean their attacking style of play. I mean it's the best in the league. They're the best in the league, you know, at handball and chains, in my opinion. And that's not looking at the statistics. Let's put it that way. I mean, the way and then also the pinpointed target. You know, there's no wonder why Callum Brown is kicking goals. Jesse Hogan is kicking goals, and some people are now tipping him to be a favorite, one of the favorites for the Coleman. I mean, there's no, and also what I felt like for some reason, their main man in Toby Green, I feel like he hasn't been well, I'm not saying this is a criticism, but I think this is kind of a criticism in a good way, that Toby hasn't been influencing games as he used to. And it's probably down to the fact that all the others in that forward line and also in the midfield it is in quite regularly has stepped up to probably his level and or even beyond it, and now they're seeing beyond his performance, and they're looking at, wow, look how good Jesse Hogan is. Wow, look at Callum Brown, how good Callum Brown's going. Wow, look how good Brett Daniels is going. I mean, yeah, it's just great. And some of those guys that previously, before Adam Kingsley took over GWS, who let's just argue that probably that they had no futures there. I mean, Lockie Whitfield was pretty average before Kingsley took over. You had the problems with Stephen Canelio. You had Himmelberg, who there was rumors about him moving. There was even a rumor of possibly him moving to crosstown rival Sydney, which was crazy, absolutely craziness that he would do that. Which that didn't happen. because obviously he signed that deal, or signed that if it was 4-year deal, I think 4 or 5 years, I think. So yeah, but now moving forward, now 12 months now into Kingsland, and those guys I mentioned in Cornelio, Whitfield, and that, they're probably in career best form. I mean, and of course, Himmelberg is settled in his position. He's settled into that key back position. You got Cornelio back to his best. Whitfield back to his best. You got Hogan back to his best. You got Cal Brown, who's discovered his best form. I said this about Collingwood earlier about them having the worst thing, and that is having underperforming players at all three facets on the ground. It's the opposite with GWS. All over the ground, you could probably look at their lineup probably this time tomorrow as I'm recording this on Wednesday, and let me quickly pull up their lineup from this past week against West Coast, for example. Let's go matches. Let's go down the bottom to the GWS game. Here we go. So, and solely squarely focus on the GWS lineup here. I mean, it's solely square on the GWS lineup. I mean, in the back line, you got Perryman, who I think who's underrated at his best, can be very decent. You got Taylor, you got Sam Taylor, who's probably one of the best interceptors in the game, and you got Connor Iden as well, who's criminally underrated. He very criminally is underrated as a defender. So yeah, and then of course you got Lockie Ash in there, who had the nickname, who is one of the best running half backs in the league. He doesn't have the nickname Dash for nothing. Let's put it that way. You got Jack Buckley. Jack Buckley, we still is yet to discover his best form, but clearly Adam Kingsley has some faith in him. Whitfield, obviously, he's self-explanatory. He's back to his best. Then you got the midfield, and then you got the midfield and the ruck. So you got Briggs, who's one of probably now top five, top three best ruckman in the league. You got because I said you got Cornelio back to his best. Tom Green looks like he could be a Brownlow medal contender. Josh Kelly's back to his best. Callahan's discovered his best form. Jacob Weir, there's a bit of a question mark about him. Then you get to the forward line. You got Bedford at his handfulish best. He as I said, he could be a handful. Got Riccardi, who at his best can kick bags of goals. You got Daniels, who could run a mark as well. Those two, Daniels and Bedford, as a duo, can frustrate a few sides a fair few sides when they run a mark. You got Jesse Hogan, who's contending for who is one of the favourites in the Coleman. You got Callum Brown, who's emerged as a great forward. Then you got Toby Green, who, as I said, who has underperformed. But since the fact that I said that the Giants forwards had stepped up their game, it's made it pretty much redundant. It's pretty much not a factor. So it doesn't matter anymore now that if Toby Green gets only kicks 2 goals and gets 12, 13 touches. It doesn't matter. So long as that forward line functions well, and the way that the ball movement goes, it's redundant. Let's put it that way. Let's put it that way. Put it that way as well. So what I'm looking at there is as I said, that most of those guys in that lineup against West Coast last week are basically in career best form. No doubt about it, in career best form. So yeah. So do they have the right to be Premiership, to be the new Premiership favourites after? I know it's still early days, but after basically 4 rounds, if you count round 0, hell yeah, let's put it that way. And now let's move on to the statistics on this, because obviously of course they're top of the ladder. Obviously, they have the second. They have in terms of average points scored against. Of course, they're the second best defense in the league. Let's put it that way, and also second best attack in the league. Obviously, but it's still jumbled up because of obviously some teams have played 2, some teams have played 3. So yeah, so that's why I think it's added a bit of confusion in this. But also, so yeah, but I want to compare these to past premiers from the last 10, 11 years, because I just wanted to, sort of, just make it interesting here. The one thing that's throwing out to me, so firstly, the ladder position, and by the way, this is all after what GWS had, after three games played. So just so you guys know, this is all these will be after 3 games played in their season. So for example, with Sydney with 2012, after 3 matches played. Same with Hawthorn 2013, 14, 15, Western Bulldogs 2016, etc. So yeah, so just that's an explanation for you. So yeah. So currently right now, so with the ladder position, so currently GWS are currently at the top of the ladder, of course, are clearly at the top of the ladder right now. The only undefeated teams, by the way, are both the Sydney teams, them and the Sydney Swans. So yeah, the one thing that's been on the board to me is no team that finished on top in the last 11 years that finished on top of the ladder after round 3 has gone on to win the Premiership. I mean, Sydney, who won the flag in 2012, third, were third after round 3 that year. 2013, 14, 15, both all 3 Hawthorn. So first off, 2013, the Hawks were in 6th after three rounds. 2014, the Hawks were in 2nd. And in 2015, the Hawks were in 4th. After three rounds in that season. Then again, 2016, again 4th, but this time it was from the Western Bulldogs, who as we all know, we don't need to rehash it again, we all know what they did in September in that year in 2016. 2017 from Richmond, they were in 2nd after 3 rounds in 2017. West Coast, they were in 5th after 3 rounds in 2018, they went on to win the flag, and in 2019-20, are the only times, all of them from Richmond, that they were outside the top 8 after 3 rounds and went on to win the flag. Those were the only 2 times during the last 11 years. With the lowest being Richmond 2019, they won the flag after being 14th after 3 rounds. So it's proof that you can't. I know you can't rely on the first three games of a team to basically, but just to make this sort of comparison, just to and then 2020, of course, in a shortened season, obviously we all know why. They were in 9th after 3 rounds. 2021, Melbourne, after 3 rounds, they were in 3rd. 2022, Geelong, they were in 7th after 3 rounds in that season. And last year, in Collingwood, they were in 2nd position. So yeah. Moving on to points against here. So currently right now, they're 2nd in terms of averaging points against. They're averaging exactly 69 points a game. Yeah, I know. that number 69 is pretty weird, but we'll move on. So 2012 Sydney, they were the second best in terms of second best in this era in 2012 after 3 rounds. Hawthorn in 2013, they were the seventh best after 3 rounds in 13. Hawthorn were around the middle bit in 2014, 9th best in 2014. Then in 2015, they improved to back up to third best after 3 rounds of the 15 season. The only team that was at the very top, that was at the very top of being the best at best, side in terms of averaging points against, was the Western Bulldogs after 3 rounds. They were on top with an impressive, with only conceding over the first 3 rounds an impressive 55.5 points per game after 3 rounds in 2016. There you go. Then Richmond in second best in 2018. After 3 rounds in 2017. And they went on to win the flag, obviously. West Coast were the 7th best in 2018. Richmond were the 4th worst defensive side in the competition after 3 rounds in 2016, averaging nearly 100 points a game after 3 rounds in 2019. In the first 3 rounds of 2019. And then, of course, 2020, which was shortening games, obviously. There were 16-minute quarters, so pretty redundant, really. But Richmond were in the middle of the pile in terms of that. They were the 8th best after 3 rounds of the 2020 season. Melbourne, we all know clearly, were the second best, obviously, at the top of the crop, obviously, with midfield with it. Key it back to the likes of Lever and May, and then obviously, guys like Salem and Petty and that. It was not surprisingly that they were second best defense after second best in points against, averaging points conceded after 3 rounds of 2021. Surprisingly, after 3 rounds of 2022, Geelong were in the middle of the crop, 11th best in terms of points against. So, which was quite surprising after 3 rounds, and we all know after round 8, we all know what happened with them. They just basically went on an absolute tear, won the flag. Then in 2023. Last year with Collingwood, after 3 rounds, they were the 4th best side in terms of averaging points conceded, with them conceding 72 points per game in the first 3 rounds. Now from defense, we move on to attack because so obviously, so here it is. So this is all, as I said, all after 3 rounds. Sydney were in the middle of the crop, literally the middle tier. They were the 9th best attacking side in the league after 3 rounds. Hawthorn, their record after 3 rounds. With attack in terms of averaging points scored in their three-peat era after 3 rounds, second, first. So there you go. With surprisingly the top of them coming in 2013, where they were the second best attacking side, with averaging a lazy 26.3 points per game. Yeah, and with the 2 firsts, 122 points per game in 2014, and 108.6 points per game in 2015. There you go. And the top scorer at the top points scored after 3 rounds of a season during those 3 years was in fact 2013, where they weren't even at the top. So yeah. The Western Bulldogs, they were the eighth best attacking side in the league after 3 rounds in 2016. 2017 with Richmond, they were the sixth best attacking side after 3 rounds that year. 2018 West Coast in 2018, they were the 6th best in that year after 3 rounds of the 18 season. Of the 19 season, not surprisingly, Richmond were the 10th best side, best attacking side, without them at the time after 3 rounds, averaging a brilliant 79.6 points per game. So you could clearly tell that the scoring has started to dwindle. Then in 2020, not surprisingly, let's not get to that. Obviously, they were the 11th. Richmond were the 11th best attacking side in the league after 3 rounds, with them averaging 60 points per game. Then it rose back up again with Melbourne. Despite how good the defense was, their attack only scored 91 points per game after 3 rounds, and were the 8th best attacking side, which was surprisingly enough. And in the last 2 premiers, they have been second best attack after 3 rounds. That is Geelong in 2022. And Collingwood last year. So yeah, and also I got percentages here. Should I need it? I went on here just in case I need it, and I probably don't need to because I think it's probably redundant. So probably I wouldn't need it. But yeah, so as I said, to close out this and move on to the last topic before I move on to NRL. Yeah. I think for me, I'm starting to consider GWS being premiership favourites. I know they got the week off this week, as well as the Gold Coast Suns this week for the Easter weekend. But I think that bye this week will probably do them good than bad, to be honest. So it just gives them a chance to fresh up and go again until their mid-season bye. So I think definitely I think definitely I was proven right by the fact that I did put GWS in the top 4, and now probably with them being 3-0, there's more of a chance they might maybe finish at the top couple of positions. You never know at the end of the season. On the final topic, as I'll talk about with the AFL, before I move on to NRL, do I support? And it's a big thing, and it equates to my club, the Essendon Football Club, and the talk around the Essendon Edge was crystal clear, especially in the events of Saturday night. Obviously, it was talked about a fair bit during the course of the week before the Sydney game by Brad Scott, and then it came to fruition on Saturday night. Was out on full display, much to the displeasure of the Sydney players. Let's put it that way. Albeit, we didn't get the job done. But in many ways, as I said, we didn't get the job done. But in more ways than one, I think it's not surprising, really, and apparently there was some words of Tom Papley about incidents of targeting Sydney players off the ball, especially after the incident between Peter Wright and Harry Cunningham, especially that's after that. And then of course it's been talked about a lot basically what Essendon's toughness throughout this week after the Sydney game. So yeah, I like the comments that Jonathan Brown made apparently on the couch. Apparently because if you guys don't know, he used to be teammates with Brad Scott back in the Brisbane three-peat era in 01, 02 and 03. So he knows how Brad plays inside out, and he said that he said something, and I agree with him that Essendon haven't done anything the last 15, 20 years, and I like the fact that they've adopted that Brad's gone in and said, yeah, this is how I played. I want to see you guys play like this, and it looks like they've embraced that. Let's put it that way. But yeah, but there was some other bit of commentary that let's be honest with you guys, I'm always damn with you guys, that didn't suit well with me, especially on 360. Now, I totally love Jared Waitley. I absolutely he just whenever he speaks, I listen basically. Robbo, not so much, pretty much. But I was in both that camp when they pointed out Nick Hines's wingbird elbow on Chad Warner. My obvious conclusion to that was and they were saying, oh, fake toughness, oh, yada yada, oh, it could have been a message, it could have if it hit, it could have, woulda, shoulda, it could have, woulda, coulda. My obvious conclusion is, it didn't hit him, move on. Simple as that. Do not target a bloke because he was aiming at deliberately. Yes, Nick Hine was incredibly lucky to have missed Chad Warner with that elbow. He would have got 6 weeks if it connected, but it didn't. And now because of it, and it's gonna be. And there's a lot of fans that watch 360 now. They're gonna look at that and they're gonna think, oh, Hines like a bad bloke. He's not. He missed it. All he did was wingbird him. Was wingbird Chad Warner with an elbow that he missed clearly. Yes, he was lucky for it, but still, he missed. Move on. Please. And now everybody's gonna give Nick Hine a bad rap over it. That's what I'm concerned about. And I said, move on. Let's put it that way. And I've had that thought ever since I heard those comments on 360 on Monday. For some reason those comments just did not sit well with me on that front. On that front. To end it, do I support? Yeah, I said I support. I think if this means that it gets Essendon to start getting its freaking act together, yes, I'm clearly supportive of that. I was left, a bit frustrated because of a couple of reasons. Number one, our transition, this has been an issue for several years, and it doesn't matter if it was under John Worsfold, under Ben Rutten, or now under Brad Scott. The same problems happen. We cannot freaking defend to save our lives, especially especially in transition, where we go from our forward line and then we get exposed the other way. It's happened time and time and time again, and for us Essendon fans are sick of it. Where something needs to change in that backline group, because we're just left pulling our hair out. And if this keeps on going happen, we're going to be just sit back, because we're going to be involved in more games like that, where we're going to score 100 points, and then we're going to concede 100 points. We're going to be in more games. And I read somewhere on Instagram, I remember during this week, that since the stand rule came in 2021, we've been involved in the most matches where both sides scored over 100 points. Most teams have been once, twice, thrice. We've been involved in those type of games 5 times since 2021. And yeah, yes, we gritted it out. Yes, but I was expecting a lot better than that from them defensively. I was expecting them to be better than that defensively, and yeah. So yeah, and then the second one is, and it's just made my head go around in circles, was our captain, Zach Merritt. He, in that last quarter, I remember this. I remember screaming at my TV. I was screaming at my TV, going, "Don't go off the ground. Don't go off the ground." We were 11 points down. We kicked the previous 2 goals previously. Then at the time it was 3. I was screaming at the TV, going, "Don't go to the bench. Don't go to the bench. Rest him forward. Rest him in the forward pocket. Rest him in the back pocket. Rest him somewhere." Because what happened next? Sydney kicked the next 7 of the last 8 goals, and it left me. And for that, I was like, "Oh, we just like." The same every club has this same problem. Most notably, the Bulldogs had this problem with Marcus Bontempelli. Remember that in the 2021 grand final, when he kicked the goal to put him 19 points up, he went to the bench. They went to the bench. What happened afterwards? Melbourne kicked 7 of the next 18 goals, and they went and smashed them by 12 goals. I just have this fear, if Zach Merritt hadn't gone to the bench, we would have overrun them. I have that feeling. If Zach Merritt, because he was putting the game on his, putting the team and the game on his back, he would have single-handedly would have overrun Sydney, and we would have gone away with the 4 points. Instead, off the ground, Sydney kicked the next 7 or 8 goals. Game over. We lose by 5. And if Merritt had been on the hadn't been on the ground, it would have been a different story. So yeah, those are the things there. But ending this on the question, obviously, do I support it? Yes, but there's still some things I want Essendon to change. Now, it's especially defending transitions and that. So yeah, which was still terrible at. Let's put it that way. And yeah, it's just gonna keep getting worse. So yeah. So that is all in terms of on the AFL standpoint. Moving on to the NRL, and oh boy, there's been a lot to talk about. I've only mentioned there was a lot to talk about during round 3 of the NRL, and basically we couldn't have time to fit them all in due to the best 3. So there it is. So the talk about the crisis over at South Sydney. Obviously, it comes off the back of their if I can note there. comes off the back of their embarrassing performance last Friday night against the Sydney Roosters, where they were smashed 48-6. Yeah, it was not good. It was not good reading. I mean, yeah, Latrell Mitchell at the end of the game being sent to the bin. You got underperforming players as well, and even stats here like this look like it's the first time that they've gone 0-3 since 2008, and it's also for the first time since 2010 that they finished a round on the bottom of the ladder. And I remember, and this was damning as well. What was said in the press conference? If I can find it, here it is. What was said in the press conference? In the press conference. They were saying the press conference from Coach Jason Demetriou, who had been experimenting a lot with in terms of his lineup. I remember most notably I think he put Cam Murray or someone like that. I think he put him. I think I might check that. I might do a fact check on that. I think he was put on the bench. I think. Let me check their team list. No, Damien Cook. Sorry, that was Damien Cook. Sorry. He was put on the interchange bench, and normally he would be hooker, but nah, he was. But Damien Cook was put on the interchange bench, to come off the bench, which was surprising because we all know what he can do, especially when he's played previously for the New South Wales for New South Wales Blues, in State of Origin. So that was quite surprising, really, on that front. And of course, this was Jack Whiten. Obviously, this was Jack Whiten's debut game as a South Sydney Rabbitoh. And I think he came off that game injured. I think he also got injured. I think in this game. Let me look at their injury list. I don't see anything there. No, but I remember there was some sort of complaint really from him, really, in terms of injury wise. So I don't know if that's true or not. But anyways, let me just give you a grab of what Jason Demetriou said during his. Let me move this over here so I can actually read it without going over there. So yeah, this is what he said. This is what Jason Demetriou said during the press conference. It's where we are at the moment. The monkey's on our back, and you can see that in our result at times. There's some effort there, but it's put into the wrong places, and I just said to the players, there's only one way out, and that's staying together, training well next week, and getting back on the horse. It's a matter of just getting the first win, and individually there are some signs out there that we are starting to find the rhythm, I should say. It's probably the lowest point of my career right now, but I know how we can get out of it. We'll fight together. The shocking part was he said it was the lowest point in my career, which was a shock, to be honest. But he clearly knows it, by the way, that where he said the monkey's on our back, and you can see it in our results sometimes, at times. That the way he said it was he knows the problems, but how to fix those problems is a bit of an issue. I mean, if you're moving. He's trying to pull some strings. You could tell by putting Damien Cook on the interchange, getting Damien Cook to come off the interchange bench. He's pulling strings. At some point, those strings to pull will be running out at some stage. So that's pretty much that's and of course this week obviously they've got and I'm going to be watching most of this game too on Good Friday will be the Bulldogs game, because obviously the Bulldogs have come off of a big win over the Titans. Of course the Rabbitohs are 0-3. How they're going to go, we do not know. And then afterwards, if I grab the draw and see the Rabbitohs draw after this week. After this week, they've got the Warriors. They got the Warriors at home and the Sharks at home. Then they got the bye, and then after their bye, they got a very tough fortnight after their bye against the Melbourne Storm away and the Panthers at home. So. Also, both of those are on a Thursday night, by the way. So which is quite interesting, really. So, and we all know what the Warriors are like on the road. They're not as strong on the road as they are at home. We all know that. We'll talk about that in a bit. Then also you got the Sharks as well. And then of course you got the Sharks. Which we don't know where they're at the moment. Of course, they got smashed by the Tigers, which we'll get to that one in a bit as well. But there is crisis at there, and that will be even more of a crisis if they lose on Good Friday, and would condemn them to 0-4. That would be. Then it will be grim times at South Sydney if that's probably the case over there, to be honest. But the thing is here, with Jason Demetriou, he knows what's wrong. It's just fixing him is the problem, pretty much. Moving on to the next topic, which I said earlier, a moment ago, and that is about the New Zealand Warriors, and that is do they have a case to have that they have the best 19th man, have the best to have the best how many this is embarrassing here, to have the best 19th man in the league. And it was apparently, and it was, I think it was pointed out, by Ricky Stewart, the coach of the Raiders, I believe, after when they won that one. Hang on, I'm gonna try and find the match report here. Here we go. Because I think, as I said, Ricky Stewart said something about it. I think, not. Or was it Andrew Webster? No. But apparently it was said by, I think it was by one of the players. I think out there on the field said the atmosphere, because the game wasn't at Mount Smart Stadium. It was down at, I can't remember the name of the stadium. It was in Christchurch, and from what I've heard, the atmosphere was absolutely incredible, which normally is for a Warriors home game, to be honest. But yeah, the one statistic I want to bring up is the stadium figures and average stadium figures, crowd attendance figures since the Warriors finally made their move back home to play games back in New Zealand during before the end of the 2022 season, because remember they did play 4 games at home at Mount Smart Stadium towards the end of 2022. Because I remember that, because one of those teams that did play there in 2022 was the Melbourne Storm. So yeah. So firstly, Mount Smart Stadium, or whatever it's called, or whatever name it's called, to be honest, they of course they had 4 home games in 2022, averaging just over 20,000 people, or 20,000, averaging 20,000 per game in terms of fans coming to the ground. Then they had more home games there. I think it was like 10 in 2023, and it was up to 20. It was up. I think they had an average crowd attendance of of just under 23,000 per game. And just to add this as well, the maximum crowd attendance at Mount Smart Stadium is 25,000. Well, in terms of seating, it's 25,000. But in terms of the non-seating areas, it can actually fit more. So yeah, because I remember the when they played the semi-final last year against the Knights, because I watched it. And the atmosphere from minute 1, which was incredible. Even when I watched TV, I heard it was absolutely the atmosphere was absolutely electric. From the first whistle through the final hooter, yeah. So and it was 22. As I said, just under 23,000. Which was their average attendance for 2023 at the stadium at home games at Mount Smart Stadium, and then the sole home game so far over there in 2024 so far, which was the opening round against when they lost the opening round to the Cronulla, I remember. They also had a crowd of just over 24,000. So, which is absolutely bonkers. Really, and then obviously other stadiums as well they played in, like they played at the Wellington National Stadium. 16,000, just over 16,500 is not a good number compared to what it can actually fill, which is over 34,500. But still, a pretty decent sort of a job, really. And then you got this past weekend. At the stadium they were playing in Christchurch, apparently it would hold the maximum attendance held would be 17,100. The official crowd attendance from that game last Friday night against the Raiders, 17,249. Over 100 more than the actual crowd capacity, which is absolutely incredible. And a grand total of all the matches played in New Zealand ever since NRL returned to New Zealand back in late 2022. Since then, it's had an average crowd over the past 2 and a bit years of 28,000 people. That's the average that's been in New Zealand since its return in 2022. Are New Zealand rugby, are New Zealand Warriors fans loyal or what? I mean, it's just incredible, and the noise they pack out too. It's just insane. It's incredible. So yeah. So you can make a petition that the New Zealand Warriors fans have the best 19th man in the league. Let's put it that way. They don't have, as I said, they have a fortress-like record at home in New Zealand like the Panthers do, where they have where back from 2020 to 2023, the Panthers have a ridiculous winning strike rate at Blue Bet Stadium of 90%. Like, they don't have that, but in terms of their fans, the only way for you to win games in New Zealand is to quiet the crowd down. Because if you don't, then that's going to inspire the New Zealand Warriors players to do better in front of a frenzied crowd, and make them win the game. I mean, well, the Knights saw it firsthand in the semi-final last year, and we all know how that went. So yeah, so just to conclusion, my answer, definitely, Warriors fans are definitely the best 19th man, the best 19th man in the league. I mean, in terms of not in terms of crowd capacity, but also, I mean, filling out small New Zealand stadiums and making a hell of a massive amount of noise. But yeah, so yeah, on that front. So yeah, moving on to on the NRL. The final bit, it was probably, some would argue, the biggest shock of the round last week. And it was from the form of the West Tigers. And it was not because... The shock wasn't because that they won, but how much they won by. Let's put it that way. They won against the Cronulla Sharks, who have been in the finals for the last couple of years. They bet them 32 points to 6. So yeah. And it was mostly, and looking at the statistics, the only thing I could write down is basically the one downfall for the Sharks was their errors. I mean, it was their errors and their conceded penalties. I mean, they had 10 more errors than the Tigers, 16-6. They had 3 more penalties conceded with 5 compared to the Tigers 2. And with the Tigers, they only had 1 ruck infringement, while the Sharks, they had 3. And back on the errors, I remember Nico Hines had several amount of errors as well, which was uncharacteristic from him. So yeah, it was incredible. It was bonkers, really, to be honest, their performances last week, yeah. And yeah, so obviously, so the big question is that performance from the West Tigers, is that a sign of things to come, or is it a flash in the pan? We'll figure that out this Easter weekend. But I think, because I think they play. I hope they play this week. Hopefully. Let's go all teams. I just hope that they play this week. Let's hope. Oh yeah, they do. They do on Easter Monday against Parramatta. We'll find out on Monday. We'll find out on Monday if it was really a flash in the pan, or is it a sign of things to come for Benji Marshall and his men. Let's put it that way. So yeah. Moving on to the injuries. There's a lot in terms of the AFL than it is in the NRL, but the NRL, there's some big names that are injured. So firstly, I've got this, as usual, for the AFL, I've got this in team order. start off with. I did say last week about Darcy Gardner's foot injury a few weeks ago. That has, fortunately for him, that has been cleared from the game against Fremantle. That he's been cleared of a serious knee injury, and this week is expected to be available for selection. So that's good news for him and for the Brisbane Lions on that front. And it'll be good to go for the grand final rematch. There will be there's possibility of 3 huge ins for Carlton this week. With Caleb Marchbank, Jesse Motlop, and the biggest one of all in Jacob Wiedering, all are expected to be available for selection this week. So yeah, which is great for him, and great for Marchbank and for Motlop as well. The only slight murmur for Carlton fans is that Jack Martin, while he was recovering from a knee injury, he suffered another injury, this time to his hamstring, and will only miss the solitary week before he returns. So yeah, but from one guy from the Brisbane camp who was cleared of injury to a ruckman for the Pies that is in doubt. I said earlier about Darcy Cameron. Well, they might be down a ruckman too because apparently he missed training on Tuesday with a bout of gastro, and he is at this point he is in doubt for the game tomorrow night against Brisbane, which is going to be a big blow for them. They're already 0-3. Now they're going to be losing a ruckman. They've already lost McStay. They've already lost Nathan Murphy. They're 0-3, and they're about to lose their number one ruck, which is going to be sick in the guts for them, really, on that front. To a pair of possibly good news for my boys Essendon. Jake Kelly, who was laid out for the match against Sydney with illness, he's expected to be available this week again. Expected to be available for the game this week. And then two bit of relieving news. Vice captain Andy McGrath and midfielder Will Setterfield both experienced ankle and knee injuries respectively. Well, more likely knee and ankle and knee concerns respectively, and to be accurate. But they are both expected to be available this week, which is good news there. In a bit of horror news for Geelong, it was confirmed that Captain Patrick Dangerfield will be out for the next 2 weeks with a hamstring injury that was suffered during the win against Adelaide on last Friday night. Then in a bit of good news for Geelong, defender Jack Bowes and midfielder Tom Atkins are likely to are ready to play in the Easter Monday game against the Hawks. With young midfielder Tanner Bruin a slight chance to returning following an A-foot sprain in Geelong's win over St Kilda in round 1. And then the 2 big outs that were for the Gold Coast Suns during their loss against Ballarat, with star ruckman Jared Witts and then the Suns midfielder and Moe's finest. But I just wanted to say that in Bailey Humphries they both missed the game against the Bulldogs with shoulder and groin injuries respectively. And there's currently at this point no timeline for both of their returns as of this time. In a bit of worst case scenario kind of news for Melbourne fans, Their key defense duo of their famous key defense duo of Stephen May and Jake Lever both suffered injuries in their win over Hawks, which both of them were cleared of serious injuries. Lever is a chance to play against Port Adelaide, following checks on his knee, but there's a chance that Stephen May might miss a week after it was confirmed that he had fractured 2 ribs and a small transverse process fracture as well. So he might miss a week there. Speaking of the game against Port, on the Port Adelaide, the only major injury that Port Adelaide got is young midfielder Jason Horne-Francis. He will miss the game against Melbourne against the D's with a medial strain restricting him in training on Tuesday, so he's ruled out for that. In another blow for Richmond, of course, young midfielder Jacob Hopper had a arthroscope on his knee and will miss at least a month. Spent at least a month on the sidelines. Then in a double blow for St Kilda, new recruit Liam Henry suffered a hamstring injury during the win over Collingwood, and it's confirmed that he will miss 6 to 8 weeks with that hamstring injury. And then you got midfielder Mason Wood, who will miss 4 to 6 weeks after suffering after injuring his collarbone in that sickening collision on Friday last Thursday night against Collingwood, which I saw it live. I thought, oh, that's terrible. Saw replays of it. It was terrible. Let's be honest that way. Yeah. The Swans midfielder Harry Cunningham, we all know he's going to enter the concussion protocols after the collision with 2 meter Peter Wright, which we'll get to that later. I'll get to that in a bit. The Eagles key forward Oscar Allen has cartilage damage to his knee. That will require a minor procedure, what will put him on the sidelines for at least 8 weeks plus. It says at least 8 weeks, but it might be more. And then with the Bulldogs, their new recruit Nick Caulfield, unfortunately, in their win over the Suns, dislocated his knee, dislocated his shoulder, which will require a reconstruction, and he won't be back until after the Bulldogs' mid-season bye, which is in round 15, which will be round 15. So yeah, so still on the sidelines for him. And also finally, Ed Richards will be entering the 12-day concussion protocols set by the AFL. So after suffering a head knock in the game against the Gold Coast Suns. Now with the NRL here, there's not a lot of injuries to report on the NRL front, but there are big names as well. Let's put it that way. First off, you got Eels star halfback Mitch Moses. He's going to be out for. I first read that it was going to be 8 weeks, but now it looks like it's going to be 12 weeks with a fractured foot, which is a massive blow for Parramatta. And then a slight dampen in the Roosters' thrashing of South Sydney. Their prop in Lindsay Collins is likely to be ruled out of the massive clash with Penrith tomorrow night. with a low grade strain to his left hamstring. But it looks like only just be the one match. He might be back for round 5. I think you never know with that. And then to make matters worse for the Roosters, obviously their halfback in Sanson Smith and their centre Billy Smith that I was sure they're not related in any way, picked up elbow and ankle injuries respectively, and are both set for an extended stint on the sidelines. On that front. Then in a bit of sad news for Titans fans, their captain in Big Tino, I'm just gonna say Big Tino because I still can't say his last name to save my life. Unfortunately, ruptured his ACL in the game against the Bulldogs and is ruling himself out, and they will rule him out of the entire 2024 season. So pretty hard luck going for him, and the Titans medical staff are already looking into rehab things for him. So good luck to him on that front. The Sharks had not one, not two, but three of their forwards in injury strife, with Royce Hunt, Dale Finucane, and Toby Rudolph suffering calf, ankle injuries, and a head wound respectively. And at this point, Cronulla are facing very nervous weights on all three of those forwards. So there might be change to the forward pack for the Sharks this week if all three of them are unavailable. Back to the Broncos. Obviously, star fullback Reece Walsh will be out of action for several weeks after scans was confirmed that he has a facial fracture, which is, I believe, the same facial fracture that he had this time last year. This was in that collision with Tyrell May during last week's game against the Panthers, which means that he'll be ruled out for several weeks with that facial fracture. So good luck to him on that front. Warriors fullback Tane to Pickeye failed his HIA during the game against the Raiders, and will enter the NRL's concussion protocols this week. So that means he'll miss this week. He'll be back next week. And then to make those worse, also for the Warriors, their lock in Dylan Walker is set to miss this week's game. Set to miss this week's game against against the Knights in Auckland with an ankle injury. An ankle injury. Dragons second rower Jaden Sewer, of course, pulled out of the loss to the Cowboys. Pulled out of the loss to the Cowboys last week, and will miss this week. And will miss this week, but he'll be back the following week from a quadricep strain, and then finally, in terms for the Melbourne Storm, their centre in Remus Smith, his status is at this point is at the time when I was doing the notes is unclear. after suffering a rib injury in the 2-point loss to the Newcastle Knights. So there's that really on that front there. Several suspensions to report out of both leagues. Most notably, of course, 2 metre Peter Wright. He was sent directly to the tribunal, and was handed a 4-match suspension for rough conduct on Harry Cunningham, which I was surprised that it wasn't more, to be honest. I thought it might be, but I think they got it right. I think 4 or 5. I thought 4 or 5 weeks, and I think they got it right with 4. Then Max King got suspended for 1 match, also for rough conduct on Finn McGuinness in the game on Thursday night against Collingwood. But St Kilda did appeal that decision at the tribunal, but it was upheld. So Max King will miss the game against Essendon this week. And only the one sole injury, sole suspension to report from the NRL, and that is Knights prop Leo Thompson being suspended for 1 match for a grade 2 dangerous contact, which is the only suspension out of that round for the NRL. A couple of topics to report on before I get out of here. The AFL considering the lifetime ban for streakers. Now, this comes off of the streaker that came on the ground of the Adelaide Geelong game on Friday night. And I just thought it was absolutely freaking crazy. It was in the middle of a game, and I'm glad that the AFL and the AFL and the Adelaide Oval are basically, saying, we need to update our security and that, because that could have been freaking dangerous. I mean, this guy entered it when it was in the middle of a freaking contest. And it was funny how there was guys that were even Ben Keys pulled him down, which was freaking hilarious, absolutely hilarious. And the more funniest one was Jeremy Cameron telling holding the ball signal, which was freaking funny. A bit of humour there, but we're just all sick of it. I want to turn this more serious for a second. This is serious. This is serious stuff. This was freaking dangerous. OHS. It's there for a reason. It is dangerous. We've all seen those streakers, go, but at least they don't, go near the actual play in that. But this is next level. He knew that he decided to basically go for that play, and he did, really. And I get why the security guys were a bit hesitant, because there's the play in front of them, and there's a guy who's just leapt over the fence, and he's there, and I can tell why they're not. And even when he was entering the ground. It was until probably about 10 seconds after he had initially got on the field that the umpire stopped play, because they were blinded by it. But we're all sick of it. We're all sick of it. And this is a warning, and this is a clear warning. If you are watching this video and you have an idea of doing that this weekend, I'm telling you now, the AFL's going to be red hot. Every single stadium security is going to be freaking red hot, and the police will probably throw the book at you, if you plan to do it, and at best and at worst you could probably get a lifetime ban over it, which is actually their consideration of doing. So be careful what if you think, as I said. If you're thinking of doing it, every single person will be freaking red hot. That's my warning. but finally back on the but finally for the final topic, the restricted free agents list was revealed. Is revealed. It was revealed, and the 9 names obviously that are currently at this point that are on the restricted free agents list are of course as follows. You got Jared Berry and Hugh McCluggage from Brisbane, Andy McGrath from Essendon, Patrick Dangerfield from Geelong, Ben Ainsworth from the Gold Coast Suns, Blake Hardwick from Hawthorn, Cameron Zurhaar at North Melbourne, Will Hayward from the Sydney Swans, and Tim English from the Western Bulldogs. So very quickly, I wanted to say, because it's already gone an hour and a half on this video, and I need to go to work tomorrow, so I need to get through this quite quickly. So Zurhaar. So first off, quite simply, I don't see, Berry, McCluggage, McGrath, especially Dangerfield leaving in free agency. I think Berry, I believe, I think McCluggage will get a bigger offer than the four of them. I think Dangerfield, he'll get a one year extension. McGrath, I think he'll get maybe like for 2, 3, maybe 4 years. I think maybe 3, 4 years. I think on that front, because obviously he's the vice captain. Obviously he's next in line to be the next captain after Merritt takes over hands over the reins. So yeah, and Berry as well. I think he'll get a free or so year contract. I believe McCluggage's going to be the interesting one. I think that if he does decide to go, there will be. I get a feeling. I got a hunch that his next contract might be close, if not no, exactly over $1 million. That's what I think. I got that hunch. I think that his next contract might be either exactly $1 million a year or over $1 million a year. That's what I think, in my opinion. But yeah. That's what I think. But I think all 4 of those, I believe, will stay at their clubs. The 50-50 ones, I think Ben Ainsworth, I'm sort of 50-50 on that. Which is Morwell's finest, obviously, because he's from the Gippsland area where I live, obviously, as well. Like Moe's finest in Bailey Humphrey and of course Newborough's finest in Sam Flanders, but yeah, I can see the possibility of him going home if things don't work out over there. I can see that happening, but he's going well under Dimmer at the Gold Coast Suns. I'm leaning him more towards staying than going, to be honest, but yeah. So too for Blake Hardwick. I think he's been there. He's been there for a number of years over at Hawthorn. Could he go somewhere to probably pursue that dream of a possible premiership? I don't know, so to speak. But he's an important player for Hawthorn, so maybe he's towards staying in pretty much. Now these are the 3 names who I've chosen. I think they will leave in this trade period. In this free agency period. Zurhaar. The first one is Zurhaar. Now, the current one I've heard is that that my team, Essendon, are rumoured to be going after him again. Going after him again. I remember a couple of years ago we were eyeing him off until he signed a 2-year deal. That 2-year deal is now is going to end at the end of this year. So now he's a restricted free agent. I won't be surprised if if those rumors are true, to be honest. So yeah, that's the only team that I've known that is interested in him at this point. There probably might be more teams. Maybe there might be Sydney might be interested in him. I don't know, but yeah. Moving on to Will Hayward. Of course, he currently plays for Sydney. But I get the feeling that if he does that, which is probably ever likely, if he does move, I think he'll move back home to South Australia, because if you guys don't know, he's actually from Adelaide, and there was rumours a few years ago that the Adelaide Crows were coming hard at him, but unfortunately they didn't get a deal done, and he stayed in Sydney. So I wonder if that will be done second time round. But the problem is, though, if he does elect to move, where would they put him? I think because they've already got a stacked forward line, a small forward line there. Of course, in Rankin, you got Rochelle, got Saligo, those type of players. In there, and of course, we all know that the rumor is about them going after Harrison Petty. I think my worry is I don't think they would have the money to go up to have both Hayward, if he does elect to leave Sydney, and then also have enough money to get Harrison Petty in from Melbourne. I don't know, but that's what I won't be surprised if he moves back there. To be honest, or he might change his mind and go to the other South Australian team in Port Adelaide. You never know with that, but yeah. And the last one is Timmy English. I have a massive hunch, and it's a not surprising hunch, to be honest, for a lot of people. I've got a hunch that West Coast are going to chase him really hard in this free agency period. Like they don't have, you know, a decent ruckman. And Nat Nui's retired, obviously, and obviously Timmy English being a West Australian boy, I won't be surprised if he's the one that basically, you know, says, I want to go home and I want to go to West Coast. I would say the other West Australian team in Freo, but they already got Luke Jackson and Sean Darcy there, and probably they would probably recommend Luke Jackson to be the number one ruck. And I don't think two number one rucks would work down there. Well, Melbourne proved it when they had Grundy and Gorn, and it didn't work, and it only lasted 6 months. So yeah. But I get a feeling, got a hunch and a feeling that West Coast will go hard, really hard at him in this free agency period, in my opinion. How much would they willing to pay him? I think close to maybe $1 million a year for English. I know he's one of the top 5 ruckmen in the league. Let's put it that way, and he most definitely would be worth that kind of money. So those, I think, ones I think 4 out of that 9, 4 is likely to reject other clubs and basically re-sign with their clubs. 2, I'm about 50-50 about, and the other 3, I am definitely sure they would be either be interested in going or are rumoured to be going. So that's pretty much it for this long episode. I wasn't expecting it to be this long, to be honest. So like this video, share this to anybody who is an AFL fan or an NRL fan. Comment down below. Is there any of my opinions that you agree with or disagree with? I'd love to hear your thoughts and opinions. And one last thing, somewhere down there, click on the big red button which is labeled subscribe. I'm gonna turn this video off now because I need a drink and I need to get ready for work tomorrow. Until next time, guys, I'll see yous all later.